Cordelia Ashworth counted the silverware for the third time. 47 forks, 47 knives, 47 spoons. Because the Vampire King's household expected perfection from its temporary steward, and she had exactly 9 days before the autumn summit began and her contract expired, along with the last roof over her head. 47, she said aloud. It steadied her. Numbers always did. She had not always counted cutlery. 2 years ago, she had owned a house on Belgravia Square. She had hosted dinners where 47 place settings would have been considered modest. Then her father's business partner had vanished with every penny, and the courts had seized everything: the house, the paintings, even her mother's piano. Cordelia Ashworth, aged 31, had fallen from society like a glass from a high shelf. The sound had been that sudden, that final. Now she stood in the great hall of Thornhaven Castle in the Austrian countryside. She had been hired through an agency as temporary household steward for Lord Erasmus Vane. The agency's letter had described him as an eccentric nobleman who entertained rarely. The pay was exceptional. The contract was 9 days. She had taken it because the alternative was destitution. The hall smelled of cold stone and something else, something older, like pressed flowers sealed inside a book for centuries. The candlelight moved strangely here, bending towards certain walls as if drawn by invisible currents. Cordelia had noticed this on her first evening. She had noticed other things too. The servants never ate in her presence. The windows on the east wing had been bricked over. The clocks all ran 7 minutes slow, and nobody corrected them. 47, she repeated. Then she heard the doors open behind her. The hall filled with voices. The summit guests were arriving 3 days early. Cordelia turned to find a procession of figures in dark formal attire sweeping through the entrance. They moved with a coordinated grace that reminded her of starlings in flight. At their center walked a man she had not yet met. Lord Erasmus Vane was tall in the way that old cathedrals are tall. Not merely high, but designed to make everything around him feel lower. His hair was dark, swept back from a face that seemed carved from something harder than flesh. His eyes were pale gray. They found Cordelia immediately. "You are the steward," he said, not a question. "And you are 3 days early," Cordelia said. "The East Gallery is still being aired. 47 place settings are prepared. You have brought at least 60 guests." A murmur rippled through the entourage. A woman in black silk, sharp-featured, with a smile that cut, stepped forward. This was Baroness Lisette Falkenberg, as Cordelia would soon learn. The Baroness looked at Cordelia the way one looks at a stain on linen. "My lord," the Baroness said, "is this the creature managing your household?" Lord Vane did not answer the Baroness. He studied Cordelia with an expression she could not read. "You counted the settings already," he said. "3 times," Cordelia said. 47 each of forks, knives, and spoons. The number is correct. The guest count is not. "Then adjust," Lord Vane said. His tone carried the weight of someone accustomed to obedience delivered before the command finished. Cordelia felt something hot rise in her chest. She had been spoken to this way before, by creditors, by lawyers, by the magistrate who had confiscated her childhood home. She had learned that silence in such moments was surrender. "Adjusting requires notice," she said. "Notice requires courtesy. Courtesy, my lord, requires arriving on the date you yourself specified." The hall went quiet. 60 pairs of eyes fixed on her. The Baroness Falkenberg's smile widened into something genuinely delighted, the delight of someone watching a smaller creature walk into a trap. Lord Vane took 1 step closer, the candlelight bent toward him. Cordelia noticed this. She filed it away. "I could replace you in a heartbeat," he said. His voice was low. It carried to every corner of the hall regardless. 60 witnesses heard it. Cordelia set down the inventory ledger. The sound of leather on oak echoed once. "Then do so," she said. 47 settings, 60 guests, and a lord who cannot keep his own calendar. I wish your replacement extraordinary luck." She walked out, not quickly, not in a rush of emotion. She walked the way she had walked out of the magistrate's court 2 years ago, spine straight, steps measured, counting her breaths. 1, 2, 3. The great doors of Thornhaven closed behind her with a sound like a coffin lid. The October air hit her face. It smelled of pine and frost. She had no carriage. The nearest village was 6 miles through mountain forest. Her trunk was still in the servants' quarters. She had taken 14 steps down the gravel drive when she heard the doors open again. He followed. She did not turn around. His footsteps were strange, too quiet for gravel, as if his weight did not fully commit to the earth. She counted his steps against hers. His were faster. He was closing the distance. "Miss Ashworth," he said. 15, 16, 17, she said aloud, still counting. "What are you doing?" "Counting my steps to the gate. It helps me not say things I will regret." He appeared beside her. She had not heard the final steps. He was simply there. The moonlight showed his face differently than the candlelight had. Paler, more angular. His gray eyes held something she had not expected. Uncertainty. "I spoke poorly," he said. "You spoke like a man who has never been told no," Cordelia said. "The two are often identical. Return to the house. I will ensure you have what you need for the additional settings." "I will return for my trunk," she said. "Then I will continue to the village. It is 6 miles, through forest, at night. 47 Forks can verify that I am not afraid of difficult situations." He stood very still. She had the peculiar sensation that he was listening to something beyond her words. His head tilted slightly, the way a hunting bird tilts. Not threatening, but attentive. Attentive to something she could not perceive. "There are wolves in these mountains," he said. "Then I shall count them too," she said, and kept walking. She made it to the gate before the Baroness Falkenberg's carriage blocked her path. The Baroness leaned from the window. Her perfume preceded her, heavy, like overripe plums. "Miss Ashworth, is it? The temporary girl?" "The temporary steward," Cordelia corrected. "How charming! I wanted you to know that I have already spoken with the agency in Vienna. Your contract has been terminated, effective immediately." Cordelia's stomach dropped, but her face did not change. She had practiced this. The art of absorbing devastation without flinching. The magistrate's court had been excellent training. "On what grounds?" she said. "Insubordination before the assembled council. I am on the agency's board of patrons. One word from me, and you will not find placement in any noble household from here to London." The Baroness smiled. 47 Forks. How quaint. The carriage rolled past. Cordelia stood at the gate in the dark. 23. She was counting again. 23 seconds of silence before she allowed herself to feel the full weight of what had just happened. Lord Vane was still standing on the drive behind her. She could feel his presence the way one feels a draft from an unseen window. Cold, persistent, impossible to ignore. "I will speak with the agency," he said. "Do not," Cordelia said. She turned to face him. "I do not require your intervention. I require my trunk, my final wages, and a lantern for the road." "The Baroness acted without my authority." "The Baroness acted because she has authority you apparently do not control. That is your problem, my lord, not mine." She held out her hand. "My wages. 47 settings multiplied by 4 days of service. The contract specifies daily compensation." He looked at her hand, then at her face. Something shifted behind his pale eyes. Not anger, not amusement. Recognition. "You have done this before," he said. "Lost everything." 31, 32, 33, she counted quietly. "What are you counting now?" "The number of seconds I am willing to stand in the cold discussing my personal history with a stranger. You are approaching the limit." He reached into his coat and produced a purse. He placed it in her palm without touching her skin. The leather was warm, his hand was not. She noticed this. She filed it away with the bent candlelight, the bricked windows, the servants who never ate. 3 days later, she was in the village inn, counting her remaining coins. Fortune. When the innkeeper informed her that the Baroness Falkenberg had written to every household agency in Vienna, Prague, and Munich, Miss Ashworth was blacklisted. The word unstable had been used. The word thief had been implied. Cordelia sat on the edge of her narrow bed. The room smelled of damp wool and tallow. She counted the cracks in the ceiling. 17. The door knocked. She opened it to find not Lord Vane, but a man she did not recognize. Small, elderly, with spectacles perched on a nose that seemed designed specifically to hold them. He introduced himself as Dr. Albrecht Seyfried, personal physician to Lord Vane's household. His lordship did not send me, Dr. Seyfried said immediately. I came because I have a problem that requires someone who counts things. Everyone counts things, Cordelia said, not the way you do. I have watched you. You counted the candle flames in the hall on your first night. You noticed they moved wrongly. You noticed the clocks. You noticed the windows. Cordelia leaned against the doorframe. What exactly is your problem, doctor? Someone in Thornhaven is stealing from the council treasury. The accounts have been altered. Small amounts, cleverly hidden. I suspect the Baroness Falkenberg, but I cannot prove it. The summit begins in 6 days. If the theft is discovered without a culprit, Lord Vane will be held responsible. And why should I care about Lord Vane's problems? Because the Baroness who destroyed your reputation is the same person destroying his, and because you are the only person I have met who counts the cracks in ceilings for comfort. Cordelia studied him. Dr. Seyfried's eyes were kind. They were also very, very old, older than his face suggested. She filed this away too. I will examine the accounts, she said. Not for Lord Vane, for 14 coins and a blacklisted name that I intend to clear. She returned to Thornhaven the following morning. The servants watched her cross the courtyard with expressions ranging from surprise to alarm. The great hall smelled the same, stone and ancient flowers. The clocks still ran 7 minutes slow. Lord Vane found her in the study within the hour. She was already deep in the ledgers. Numbers surrounded her like a fortress. I did not invite you back, he said from the doorway. Dr. Seyfried did, she said without looking up. Your accounts are a catastrophe. Someone has been siphoning funds for at least 11 months. The amounts are small but consistent. 43 instances that I have found so far. 43, he repeated. I expect there are more. Whoever is doing this understands your accounting system perfectly. They also understand that you do not review your own finances. He entered the room. The candles on the desk bent toward him. Cordelia looked up at this and stared directly at the flames, then at him. The candles do that whenever you enter a room, she said. Why? He said nothing. The servants do not eat. The east windows are bricked over. The clocks all run slow by the same interval. And your hand, when you gave me the purse, was colder than the October air. She paused. 47 observations. I have been keeping a list. You should stop counting, he said quietly. I never stop counting. It is the only thing that has never failed me. Numbers do not lie, my lord. Numbers do not vanish with your father's fortune. Numbers do not write letters to agencies calling you a thief. She held up the ledger. These numbers tell me someone is stealing from you. Would you like to know who, or would you prefer to replace me in a heartbeat? The silence lasted 4 seconds. She counted. Show me, he said, and sat down across from her. They worked through the afternoon. Cordelia explained her findings. The pattern of withdrawals, the forged signatures, the payments to a fictitious supplier in Prague. Lord Vane listened with an intensity that was almost physical. She felt his attention the way one feels heat from a hearth. At sunset, the study darkened suddenly. Lord Vane stood and moved to close the curtains. In the dying light, she saw his reflection in the window glass. It was faint, not absent, faint, like a watercolor left in rain. 48, she said. He turned. What? 48 observations. Your reflection is wrong. His teeth pressed against his inner cheek. Miss Ashworth, I am not afraid of you, she said. It was true. She was many things. Angry, exhausted, blacklisted, counting, but not afraid. I am afraid of the Baroness. She is the one who can destroy what remains of my life. You are merely strange. He almost smiled. It was the ghost of a smile, the kind that suggested the muscles had not performed the action in a very long time. I am more than strange, he said. Then tell me what you are, because the numbers are leading me to a conclusion I would rather hear from you. He crossed to the fireplace. The flames leaned toward him as he passed. He stood with his back to her, and she could see the tension in his shoulders, the weight of centuries carried there. I am old, he said, older than this castle, older than the language we are speaking. How old? I stopped counting at 800. I never stop counting, she said. What are you? The word you know is vampire. She was quiet for 6 seconds. She counted them deliberately, letting each one carry its weight. The bricked windows, she said. The skin like wax paper, the faint reflection, the servants' habits, the candlelight. She exhaled. That is not 48 observations. That is one observation I was assembling from 48 pieces. Are you afraid now? 53, she said. What is 53? The number of questions I have, starting with, does the Baroness know what you are? The Baroness is the same as I am. Cordelia set down her pen. Then the council, the summit? All of them. All of them. This is the convocation of the old houses, the council that governs our kind. I am their king, though the title is more obligation than privilege. And the Baroness is stealing from the council treasury. If your numbers are correct, yes. My numbers are always correct. He turned from the fireplace. His pale eyes held that same uncertainty she had seen on the drive, the uncertainty of someone who has forgotten how to ask for what he needs. Miss Ashworth, he said, I need your help. She leaned back in her chair. You threatened to replace me in front of 60 people. I did. The Baroness destroyed my professional reputation because I dared to answer you honestly. She did. You are a vampire king who cannot manage his own accounts, and you are asking a mortal woman with 14 coins and a blacklisted name to save your treasury. I am. 54 questions, she said. But the first one is practical. What do I receive in return? What do you want? My name cleared. A letter to every agency the Baroness contacted. My reputation restored with evidence of her fraud, not your patronage. I will not be saved by a lord's good word. I will be saved by proof. Agreed. Then we work. They worked for 4 days. Cordelia compiled the evidence with meticulous precision. She traced every false entry, every phantom payment, every forged signature. The Baroness had been embezzling council funds for nearly a year, funneling them into private accounts through a network of intermediaries. Lord Vane provided access to records she could not have reached alone. He also provided something she had not expected: respect. He did not explain things she already understood. He did not soften his language for her comfort. He spoke to her as an equal, and she found that this was the first time in 2 years that anyone had done so. On the third night, she found him in the library at an hour when the rest of the castle slept. He was reading by a single candle that leaned toward him like a devoted pet. You do not sleep, she said. Not the way you do. Do you miss it? He looked up. I miss many things. Sleep is perhaps the 47th. She recognized what he had done. It was her number. She felt something shift. Not romantic, not yet, perhaps not ever. but something like recognition. The way two people who have both lost everything can look at each other and see the shape of what was taken. The Baroness's motive, Cordelia said, sitting across from him. It is not merely greed. No, she wants my position. The old houses are restless. If the treasury is found empty under my stewardship, the council will demand my removal. She has allies. She has been building this for years. Then she will not stop at embezzlement. When we expose her, she will retaliate. Yes. What weapons does she have beyond money and reputation? She has the council's ear. She can call for a formal inquiry. She can accuse me of incompetence or worse. And she can— He paused. She can expose our nature to the human authorities. She would expose herself? She would sacrifice a pawn. She has done it before. A lesser member of the council, offered up to human suspicion. The chaos that follows gives her cover to seize power. Cordelia counted silently. 7 seconds. Then we need more than accounting evidence. We need testimony. Someone inside her network who will speak against her. Her intermediary in Prague, a man named Herr Dietrich, he handles her financial arrangements. He is mortal, and he is frightened. How do you know he is frightened? Because he has been writing letters to me for 3 months, begging for protection. I ignored them. I did not know what he was protecting himself from. You have the letters? Dr. Seyfried has them. Then we have our case, the accounts, the letters, the testimony, if Dietrich can be reached. He arrives tomorrow, for the summit. Cordelia stood. 54 questions answered. I have new ones, but they can wait until we survive the next 3 days. She turned to leave. At the door, she paused. Lord Vane. Yes. The candles. Do they lean toward all of your kind, or only you? Only me. It is a consequence of age. The elements remember what I am. Fire remembers you. Everything remembers, Miss Ashworth. It is only humans who have the luxury of forgetting. She filed this away. Observation 55. The summit began 2 days later. The great hall had been transformed. Cordelia had arranged it herself. 63 settings now, because she had been right about the original count being insufficient. The long tables gleamed with silver and crystal. The candles stood tall and straight until Lord Vane entered, at which point they all bowed slightly eastward. The Baroness Falkenberg arrived in crimson. She moved through the hall like a blade through silk. When she saw Cordelia, her smile was immediate and venomous. The temporary girl returns, the Baroness said. How desperate Lord Vane must be. 63 settings, Cordelia replied. Correctly arranged for the actual guest count. Desperation and competence look similar from a distance, Baroness. The council assembled. Cordelia stood at the periphery with the ledgers arranged in precise order. Herr Dietrich, a nervous mortal man with ink-stained fingers, sat at the far end of the table. He kept glancing at Lord Vane. He kept glancing at the doors. The Baroness struck first. My lords and ladies, she said, rising, before we begin, I must raise a matter of grave concern. Our treasury has been mismanaged. Funds are missing. I have commissioned an independent audit. She produced a sheaf of papers. Cordelia recognized the formatting immediately. These were doctored, designed to show Lord Vane as the source of the missing funds. 63, Cordelia said quietly. Lord Vane glanced at her. 63 fabricated entries in her documents, Cordelia said, louder now. I can see them from here. The dates are wrong. The supplier codes use a format that was not introduced until March, but her withdrawals began in January. The hall went silent. The Baroness turned. Her crimson dress caught the light like a wound. And who is this person to speak before the council? My name is Cordelia Ashworth. I am a forensic accountant. I was hired to review these records, and I have found that the person embezzling from this council is not Lord Vane. She opened the first ledger. It is you, Baroness. She presented the evidence, line by line. Entry by entry. 43 instances of theft. Forged signatures matched to the Baroness's personal correspondence, payment trails leading to accounts controlled by her intermediaries. And finally, the letters from Herr Dietrich, detailing the arrangements he had been coerced into making. Herr Dietrich stood when called upon. His voice shook, but his words were clear. He confirmed everything. The Baroness attempted to counter. She accused Lord Vane of manufacturing the evidence. She accused Cordelia of being a planted operative. She invoked her authority as a board patron. You invoked that authority to blacklist me from every agency in 3 countries, Cordelia said. You called me unstable. You implied I was a thief. The real theft was yours. 43 entries, 11 months, and 63 fabricated lines in the documents you just presented to this council. She closed the ledger. I count things, Baroness. It is the only talent I have left, and it is enough. The council voted within the hour. The Baroness Falkenberg was stripped of her seat, her accounts were frozen, and her access to the council was revoked. She left Thornhaven in her crimson dress, silent for the first time since Cordelia had known her. The hall emptied slowly. The candles had burned low. They still leaned toward Lord Vane. Cordelia stood by the windows, organizing the ledgers into their cases. Her hands were steady. Her count was done. Everything balanced. Lord Vane approached. He stood beside her. He did not speak immediately. Thank you, he said finally. You are welcome. My invoice is in the second ledger. He almost smiled again. This time, the muscles remembered how. The letters to the agencies, he said. They will be sent tonight. Your name will be cleared, with evidence, not patronage. Good. What will you do now? Return to Vienna. Rebuild. The agencies will have me again, once the Baroness's lies are corrected. You could stay? She looked at him. The candlelight bent between them. I could, but I will not. Why? Because I came here with 14 coins and a ruined name. If I stay, people will say Lord Vane saved me. I need the world to know that I saved myself. That requires me to walk back into that world and do it. He was quiet for a long time. 8 seconds. She counted. You are the most precise person I have ever met, he said. And I have met a great many people. 800 years worth. More. I stopped counting, as I said. I never stop counting. We have established this. He reached into his coat and produced a small silver case. Inside was a card, thick cream paper, embossed with a seal she did not recognize. This is my personal address in Vienna, he said. Not the council's, not Thornhaven's. Mine. If you ever require anything, assistance, resources, or simply someone who understands what it is to lose everything and rebuild. She took the card. It was cold, like his hands. This is not charity, she said. It is not. It is an acknowledgement of debt. You saved my position. You defeated the Baroness with nothing but arithmetic and courage. I owe you a great deal more than a card. You owe me exactly what my invoice states. Paragraph 4, subsection 3. You put subsections in your invoices. I put subsections in everything. Dr. Seyfried appeared in the doorway, spectacles glinting. He looked at them both with an expression of quiet satisfaction. The carriage to the village is ready, Miss Ashworth, unless you have changed your mind. I have not, she said. She gathered her ledger cases. At the door to the great hall she turned back. Lord Vane stood where she had left him. The candles leaned. The stone walls held their ancient silence. He looked, she thought, like a man who had just remembered what it felt like to trust someone, and was trying to decide if the sensation was worth the risk. Lord Vane, she said. Miss Ashworth. The clocks still run 7 minutes slow. I know. Fix them. A household that cannot keep time cannot keep trust. She turned and walked through the doors. This time she did not count her steps. She did not need to. He did not follow. Not this time. He watched her go, and the candle flames in the great hall of Thornhaven straightened for the first time in years, as if released from an old habit. Then they bent again, because some things, once established, do not change easily. 3 months later, a letter arrived at Cordelia's new offices in Vienna. She had rented a small room above a bookseller on the Graben. Her name had been cleared. 3 agencies had reinstated her. She had 4 clients and a growing reputation for forensic accounting work that bordered on the supernatural. The letter was folded into thirds. The handwriting was precise and archaic. "Dear Miss Ashworth," it read, "the clocks have been corrected. The council has appointed a new treasurer. She is competent but lacks your gift for subsections. I find that the candles in the great hall still lean eastward, regardless of where I stand. I have begun to suspect they are not leaning toward me at all. They are leaning toward the door. I wonder if they remember you. I know that I do. The summit next autumn will require a steward. Not temporary, permanent. Consider it. Vain." Cordelia read the letter twice. She counted the words. 89. She set it on her desk beside her ledger and her silver pen. The bookseller below was closing for the evening. She could hear the wooden shutters folding in one by one. 7 shutters. She had counted them on her first day. She picked up her pen and wrote her reply. It was shorter than his letter, 31 words, 1 for every year of her life. "Dear Lord Vane, the candles are leaning toward the draft from the eastern corridor. Have it sealed. I will consider your offer when the invoice is paid. Ashworth." She folded it into thirds and sealed it with wax. Then she held it for a moment, feeling the paper's weight. Not heavy, not light. Exact. The evening settled over Vienna like a held breath. Somewhere in the Austrian mountains, a castle full of ancient things waited. Its candles leaned, its clocks newly corrected, ticked in perfect time. And on a desk in that castle, 8 days later, a letter arrived that made a king who had not laughed in 2 centuries press his cold hand over his mouth to contain the sound. The servants heard it anyway. They exchanged glances. One of them, the oldest, who had served the house for decades, quietly adjusted the steward's quarters. Fresh linens, a new writing desk, a shelf for ledgers. He did not know when she would come. But the candles leaned east, and the numbers, as she had promised, never lied.